Hello friends, I welcome you all to the Hindu analysis of 5th December 2020. The first article which we are going to discuss today is about the farmers protest in Delhi. Farmers firm on repeal of agricultural laws. So the farmers they were continuously repeating for only the repeal of these articles, but government is saying that we are ready for amendments. Dimming hopes of a compromise, a joint front of protesting farmer groups rejected the center's proposals to amend the three contentious agricultural laws, and the farmers groups have called for a Bharat Bandh to widen the agitation. So literally the government is ready for amendments, but these people only want, what does they want? They want only the repealing but not any amendment. The front reiterated the farmers' demand for a total repeal of the three central laws. So they called for a Bharat Bandh, and it was made by the Sanyukt Kishan Morcha, which is the group of all these agricultural unions or agricultural associations or the farmer associations. They have come under one single umbrella called Samyukt Kisan Morcha, and it came ahead of a crucial round of talks between the joint front of farmer unions and the top central ministers who are tasked with negotiating a deal with the protesters. तो अभी सेंट्रल मिनिस्टर्स और ये फार्मर्स यूनियन के जॉइंट ग्रुप जो है उनके बीच में जो भी चर्चा हुई थी वो सफल नहीं हुई थी, इसलिए फार्मर्स ने अब एक भारत बंद के लिए कॉल दिया था. The decision to seek a repeal of the three laws was reached unanimously after two rounds of talks. The first between the leaders of Punjab farmers organizations and the second with farmers unions from across the country. यानी कि फार्मर्स ने भी क्या किया था, पूरे देश के जितने भी फार्मर यूनियंस है सब लोगों ने मिलके अब ये की बात पे पहुंच गए थे कि ये जो फार्म बिल्स है इसको क्या करना चाहिए, इसको रिपील करना चाहिए. These things should be repealed, and they also gave a call for the Bharat Bandh on December 8. Now they also decided to burn the effigies of the government and corporate houses on December 5th. So there are a lot of protests happening by the farmers. They are trying to be more and more innovative, and they are trying to show their anger in multiple forms. So that is all it is about. The next article is about the opposition parties. They are demanding some sort of financial help or financial aid for the states, because the government, the BJP government, if it in the states, they cannot demand the center, they can only request the center because of same party and political constraints. But the opposition parties, they are literally very much vocal, and they want additional financial help from the states. An all party meeting chaired by the Prime Minister to discuss COVID-19 vaccine strategy saw opposition leaders re-emphasizing the need for government to take urgent measures to bring economy back on track, and they have been demanding additional financial help. And it was only the DMK which became the only party which raised the ongoing farmers agitation. आप में से कई सारे लोग शायद इस चीज को जानते होंगे. An all party meeting was called for to discuss the COVID-19 vaccine related strategy by the Prime Minister Modi, and in this meeting all the states they requested for additional financial help from the central government, and only one political party, that is DMK of Tamil Nadu, has highlighted the ongoing farmers issue. Several parties flagged the need to pay GST dues that the central government owes to the states. So from IGST, central government gives nearly 43% of its revenue to the states. This is nothing but we call it as devolution of funds. So the central government, as it is also undergoing severe financial stress, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने ये ड्यूस अभी तक क्लियर नहीं किया था, तो इसलिए सब स्टेट्स डिमांड कर रहे थे कि जो जीएसटी का ड्यूस है वो जितना तुरंत हो सके उतना तुरंत करे. And additional financial help is also what these states have demanded to meet the revenue shortfall. But almost every state is facing due to COVID-19 pandemic. Literally, the government of India and all the state governments, there is no exception for this. All the state governments, they are facing severe revenue shortfall. That is because of the COVID-19 and lockdown. And Shiv Sena has argued that the GST collection by the central government is more than 1 lakh crore. ऑलरेडी इसके बारे में भी हम लोग थोड़ा बहुत जान चुके हैं पिछले 2-3 क्लासेस में. So when the GST revenue is more than 1 lakh crore, which is what anticipated in the budget, there is no proper reason why you are withholding the share of the state governments. So when you are getting enough revenue now, immediately give our funds so that we should also survive, is what Shiv Sena is saying. Then एनसीपी के शरद पवार जी ने कहा था कि देर इज ए नीड फॉर ग्रेटर इंटरवेंशन इन सैल्वेजिंग द इकोनॉमी, यानी कि इकोनॉमी को रिवाइव करने के लिए, इकोनॉमी का पास्ट ग्लोरी जो है वो वापस लाने के लिए एक ग्रेटर इंटरवेंशन की जरूरत है. So that is something which means the central government is not taking enough efforts. It should do something more so that the economy can be revived. And other parties also emphasized on the hand holding of the states. यानी कि इस मुसीबत के समय में सारे स्टेट्स को आप लोग हाथ देना चाहिए, यानी कि उनको हेल्प करना चाहिए. It is the responsibility of the government of India to help the states in the need and also to give them all sorts of help for its revival and strengthening. So that means indirectly they are saying that आप लोग हमने साथ देना छोड़ दिया था, तो इसलिए अब आप लोगों को जरूर हमारे साथ देना पड़ेगा. And you should also help us even more, is what Trinamool is saying. Even the Telangana state's government TRS party also said the similar thing. They also demanded that COVID-19 vaccine should be provided free of cost. Then the central government prime minister ने कहा था ये कि should ensure that it should build, सॉरी प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने नहीं कहा था, टीआरएस के एमपी ने कहा था कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट शुड इंश्योर दैट द गवर्नमेंट शुड बिल्ड इनफ कोल्ड स्टोरेजेस फॉर द इजी ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ वैक्सीन. क्योंकि ऑलरेडी हम लोग मॉडर्ना और फाइजर के बारे में लास्ट मंथ के क्लासेस में डिस्कस किए थे कि दे रिक्वायर -70 डिग्रीज तक टेम्परेचर्स. सो लिटरली इफ यू नीड -70 डिग्रीज टेम्परेचर्स टू स्टोर ए वैक्सीन, what is the infra do we have? Are we really having proper infra or not? That is a bigger question. Then the Biju Janata Dal, the BSP, the YSR Congress Party and the Samajwadi Party, all other parties also urged, means requested the government to provide vaccines free of cost for the poor. At least जो लोग बीपीएल के होते हैं, जो लोग व्हाइट कार्ड रेशन कार्ड के होते हैं, at least those people should get the vaccine free of cost. Then when the DMK MP raised the farmers issue, he was told to stick to the topic which is the point of discussion. The DMK MP has said that for the last 10 days farmers had been on the road and it cannot be ignored. Then a very severe argument happened between the parliamentary affairs minister and the DMK MP, and the DMK MP's mic was muted. Only the parties which had 10 or more MPs were allowed to speak in this meeting, because it is an all party meeting, so as every party should get enough time to speak, so that's why only parties which have 10 or more MPs were allowed to speak. And the CPI, the communist parties, wrote that there is a continuous contraction in the GDP and the inadequate economic stimulus package जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत के नाम पे आप लोग जो 20 लाख करोड़ की पैकेज दिया था, it is not at all sufficient. You should have given even more, or at least you should now think of giving even more, because this stimulus package, whatever you have given, is not at all enough, is what the Communist Party has said. So those were few opinions. वहां पे opinions important नहीं था, I mean parties important नहीं था, सिर्फ opinions के बारे में आप लोग जानना चाहिए. Who, it's not who said what, it's the point what they said, what they noted. Because some parties, they have, when in a all party meeting they are talking about the recent farmers issue, that means a lot. And also various political parties are demanding free of cost vaccine. Is central government ready for it? Because central government has kept in its not the central government but the BJP has kept in its manifesto that if BJP comes into power, then Bihar will get free COVID-19 vaccine. It was actually stated by Nirmala Sitaraman, our honorable finance minister. So this is also a matter of concern, whether all the states will get it or not, or will the central government sponsor all the vaccines if the states have to purchase it. There are a lot of such things which we have to see what happens in future. अगला जो आर्टिकल है ये असम के एक एमपी के ट्रस्ट के बारे में है. So the FIR against Assam MP's foundation for misuse of foreign funds. The most important phrase here is misuse of foreign funds. A foundation run by the Assam MP has received funds from some foreign agencies, and those agencies are alleged to be linked to the terror groups. So this Assam MP is the chief of AIUDF, All India United Democratic Front, which is in talks with the Congress for an alliance before the 2021 assembly polls of Assam. So you can take it in either manner, but when it comes to foreign funds, when already it is proven that they have received foreign funds, now you should properly see how these funds are coming, from where these funds are coming, and how are these MPs utilizing those funds. So they received fund from Turkish and UK terror groups is what alleged in the FIR. So the right-wing leaders, they have cited a report by the NGO named Legal Rights Observatory against the Ajmal Foundation in Guwahati police station. So the organization's name is Ajmal Foundation. It is observed by the लीगल राइट्स ऑब्जर्वेटरी नाम के एक एनजीओ के द्वारा इन्होंने ये ऑब्जर्व किया था कि अजमल फाउंडेशन को बहुत ज्यादा फॉरेन फंडिंग मिली है. एंड इन दिस रिपोर्ट दे हैव मेंशन्ड दैट they wanted a proper investigation in this connection under the अनलॉफुल एक्टिविटीज प्रिवेंशन एक्ट, जिसको हम लोग UAPA कहते हैं. So according to the unlawful activities prevention act, this foundation has to be properly investigated is what they have demanded. Ajmal Foundation has misused foreign funds in the several anti-national activities. The foundation received 69 crore or 70 crore from UK and Turkish terror groups for education, but used only 2.05 crore. यानी कि उनको मिले थे 70 crore from these foreign agencies, but they have utilized only 2 crore. Now what about the remaining 68 crore money? Where did they use? How would someone without maintaining of proper records use 68 crores, that too from टर्किश एंड यूके बेस्ड टेरर ग्रुप्स? अगर आप लोगों को टेरर ग्रुप से पैसे मिली थी, ये सबसे बड़े ऑफेंस थे पहले. If you have already got some funding from the UK based terror groups, that is a problem and concern. Now you did not spend even that money on the education, because initially you got the money for the purposes of education. तो इसलिए उस पैसे को आपने क्या किया था, कहाँ पे लगाया था, उससे कुछ किया था क्या, या उसको आपने हवाला में या किसी दूसरे रूप में कन्वर्ट किया था, ये सारे चीजें जो है उसको देखना पड़ेगा. The center would investigate the possible फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन रेगुलेशन एक्ट, जिसको FCRA कहते हैं. तो एनी फॉरेन फंडिंग वी रिसीव is subject to be following the rules of FCRA, Foreign Contributions Regulating Act. Now the central government would investigate FCRA violations by the foundation. But the Ajmal Foundation trashed this acquisition and it said it did not receive any money from Saudi Arabia based agencies. So once the investigation is ready, we'll immediately get from where they did get the funds and how they have used these funds. So it is better for an investigation because this allegation is not a very simple allegation. It is related to the national security and integrity of India. It can also pose a threat to the sovereignty of India. इसलिए इसको हम लोग थोड़ा बहुत इन्वेस्टिगेट करना ही पड़ेगा. Next article is about the West Asian nations and the USA. They signal progress to resolve Qatar crisis. कतार में अभी एक क्राइसिस चल रही है, सो उसको रिजॉल्व करने के लिए वेस्ट एशियन कंट्रीज के साथ साथ यूएस भी तैयार हो गई थी. So the rivals Qatar and Saudi Arabia, along with the neutral Oman and Kuwait, said progress has been made towards resolving the Gulf crisis that pitted a regional group of nations against Doha. यानी कि सऊदी अरेबिया के एगेंस्ट कुछ देशों के द्वारा एक ग्रुप फॉर्म किया गया था. अब उस ग्रुप की वजह से एक क्राइसिस भी वहां पे हुई थी. सो दिस क्राइसिस इज नाउ टुवर्ड्स ए रिजोल्यूशन टुवर्ड्स एंड इज व्हाट it is said in this article. And US could broker a resolution, but cautioned by US Secretary of State was out of the prediction, business in terms of timing, signaling a breakthrough may not be imminent. यानी कि शायद इसका resolution तुरंत, maybe it is not possible, but very soon there is a possible resolution for it. So that is what the US Secretary of State has hinted these people. Then a final agreement might be done during the recent fruitful decisions. यानी कि अभी कुछ fruitful discussions हुए थे, कुछ पॉजिटिव डेवलपमेंट्स हो रही है, तो इसलिए शायद एक फाइनल एग्रीमेंट भी आ सकती है. कुवैत फॉरेन मिनिस्टर ने ये कहा था कि ऑल साइड्स हैव एक्सप्रेस्ड ए कीननेस फॉर ए फाइनल एग्रीमेंट ड्यूरिंग द recent discussions, which also included the USA. So USA is also an integral part of these discussions, and in these discussions everyone has expressed that there is a need for the final agreement and we should do it as early as possible. And almost all the other stakeholders involved like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, उनके फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स और ओमान के फॉरेन मिनिस्ट्री भी सिमिलर पैटर्न्स में ट्वीट किया था, और सब लोगों ने कुवैत और यूएस को थैंक किया था उनके एफर्ट्स की वजह से, जिसकी वजह से ये जो अभी इनके बीच में झगड़ा है ये रिजोल्यूशन की तरह बढ़ रही है, तो इसलिए उन्होंने थैंक किया था. So what happened in the past? Just one or 2 points. Saudi Arabia led its allies, the UAE, Bahrain and Egypt, to cut all the ties with Qatar in June 2017, accusing it of backing radical Islamist movements, and Iran charges Doha Denis. So it is the allegation of Saudi Arabia. सऊदी अरेबिया ने ये कहा था कि कतार में काफी सारे ऐसे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है और कतार गवर्नमेंट रेडिकल इस्लामिक मूवमेंट्स और ईरान, क्योंकि उस वक्त ईरान के ऊपर न्यूक्लियर सैंक्शंस की बात हो रही थी, ईरान इज एक्यूज्ड ऑफ procuring enriched uranium, so that is something which is a problem at that particular point of time. और सऊदी अरेबिया अपने फ्रेंड्स यूएई, बहरीन और इजिप्ट से, ओमान से सब कुछ, सॉरी कतार से सब कुछ कट करने के लिए बोला था, लेकिन कतार ने इन सारे एलिगेशंस को क्या किया था, डिनाई कर दिया था. देन इसके बाद इन कंट्रीज ने क्या किया था, जितने भी कतार के लोग थे उनको अपने देशों से बाहर निकाल दिया, and they also closed their airspace to Qatari aircraft and sealed their borders, ports, separating mixed nationality families. यानी कि अगर कई सारे फैमिलीज ऐसे भी होते हैं जिनमें से एक यहाँ का होगा और एक दूसरे देश का होगा, आप ऐसे मान के चलिए द फादर इज फ्रॉम कतार एंड मदर इज फ्रॉम सऊदी अरेबिया. नाउ सऊदी अरेबिया इज फोर्सिंग द फादर टू गो टू कतार, गो बैक टू कतार. दैट इज लिटरली द फैमिली गॉट सेपरेटेड. ऐसे कई सारे प्रॉब्लम्स इसकी वजह से उत्पन्न हुई थी. राइट नाउ देयर आर सम मूवमेंट्स यानी कि कुछ पॉजिटिव डेवलपमेंट्स हुई थी, शायद इसकी वजह से ये जो क्राइसिस है वो खत्म हो सकती है। एंड लेटर एट द सेम इवेंट सऊदी फॉरेन मिनिस्टर ने ये भी कहा था कि फाइनल एग्रीमेंट लुक्स इन रीच। तो फिलहाल के लिए सिचुएशन ऐसा है कि most probably very soon there might be a concluding agreement between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and the issue might be resolved as early as possible. अगला जो आर्टिकल है ये मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी के बाई मंथली रिव्यू के बारे में है। आरबीआई हैज केप्ट ऑल द रेट्स एज इट इज एंड सीज द फाइनेंशियल ईयर जीडीपी कॉन्ट्रैक्शन एट 7.5%। द मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी GS3 में इकोनॉमी में मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी इज समथिंग विच इज ऑलवेज इंपॉर्टेंट। अगर आपके लक फेवरेबल या अनफेवरेबल हो और इस मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी के बारे में कुछ आर्टिकल्स आपके वाइवा या आपके मेंस के कुछ दिन पहले अगर इंपॉर्टेंट कुछ डिसीजंस लिए हुए हैं तो नेचुरली ये आपको एग्जाम में देखने को जरूर मिलेगा। So that's why the monetary policy committee and all its recommendations are very, very important when it comes to your GS3 economy. So all the interest rates were remained unchanged and retain an accommodative stance as it prioritized support for economy over sticky inflation during this pandemic. So RBI wanted the economy to be boosted. Later, they can control the inflation, but as of now, their main focus is to revive and boost the economy rather than taking severe measures to control the inflation. The MPI has kept the RBI's key lending rate, that is the repo rate. So, RBI's key rates include repo, reverse repo, then bank rate, few terms which you need to revise, CRR and SLR. So all these terms you should understand. This repo rate is now kept at 4%. It is continued at 4%. Then how are we going to handle the fallout of COVID-19 crisis? The central bank has slashed the repo rate by 115 basis points since late March to cushion the economy from fallout of COVID-19 crisis because there were many lockdowns to check the spread of कोरोना वायरस। तो हमारे लिए लॉकडाउन 1 2 3 4 थे, इसके बाद अनलॉक शुरू हुआ था। अनलॉक शुरू होने के बाद भी कई सारे स्टेट्स में काफी सारे चीजें नहीं खुली थी। सो दैट्स व्हाई देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम एंड आरबीआई हैज रिड्यूस्ड the rates by 115 base points from the start of lockdown. RBI also brightened its outlook for the economy, projecting the GDP contraction should be around 7.5% for the financial year which is ending with March 2021. Initially it was projected at 9.5% of contraction. पहले हम लोग बहुत बड़े नंबर्स के बात कर रहे थे in terms of growth, but now we are talking about contraction. Citing the improvement in activity in the second quarter, it projected that GDP would return growth of 0.1% in Q3 and expand 0.7% in Q4. The risks to its estimates were broadly balanced. यानी कि ये सारे estimates जो है ये एक चीज हम लोगों को साफ साफ दिखाई देता है कि there is a good revival of economy, क्योंकि आज के दिन भी कुछ सेक्टर्स टूरिज्म देन सिनेमा ऐसे कुछ सेक्टर्स हैं जहां से काफी ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम हो रही है। सो दैट्स व्हाई इट इज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू look into the GDP growth because even this number is also equally important, though it might be a very small number, but still it is equally important because we are not going in a negative direction. कम से कम हम लोग इस चीज पे थोड़ा बहुत उम्मीद रख सकते हैं कि ऑलरेडी हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा पीछे गया था बिकॉज ऑफ द फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन. लिटरली we were at minus 24% of our GDP in that quarter. Now we improved it to minus 7.5%, and most likely then by next year we can again come back into a positive growth rate. So that is something which is even more important for us, at least after 1 year, if we can overcome this crisis. Consumers remain optimistic about the outlook, and business sentiment of manufacturing firms is gradually improving. कई सारे कंज्यूमर्स ऐसे थे जो बड़े परचेजेस या बड़े प्लान्स नहीं कर रहे थे, लाइक रियल एस्टेट एंड अदर sectors. They are having big problems, and only few sectors have seen their revival completely, but the remaining sectors still they need to go a lot in the further direction. तो इसलिए इसको हम लोग थोड़ा ऑप्टिमिस्टिकली ही देखना पड़ेगा. There are other things like cost push pressures, because the inflation is still high and it is a continuous concern for the policy makers, because when the economic activity normalizes, naturally what happens, demand picks up. So the basic idea, when there is a proper economic activity, you will have more money. When you have more money in hand, you will buy more. So when you buy more, naturally there will be an increasing in demand. तो जब डिमांड बढ़ेगी तो नेचुरली सप्लाई को इंक्रीज करना पड़ेगा. लेकिन अब कंस्ट्रेंट की वजह से हम लोग सप्लाई इंक्रीज करने के लिए बहुत समय लगेगा. उसके बीच में क्या होगा, नेचुरली व्हेन देयर इज नो increase in supply but there is a high increase in demand, naturally what happens, inflation. So this entire cycle again, the inflation is likely to rise even if there is good economic activity. So that's why we are just leaving inflation aside for some days. Initially we want to revive the economy and then we want to act on inflation. The projected retail inflation at average of 6.8% in Q3 and maybe around 5.8% in Q4, and in the next financial year it might be 5.2 to 4.6%, shows that the risk is broadly balanced. यानी कि अगले साल तक शायद आरबीआई ये एक्सपेक्ट कर रही है कि उसका जो भी रिस्क है, उन्होंने जो रिस्क लिया था अभी सारे रेट्स को वैसे ही रख के इकोनॉमी रिवाइव करने के लिए, वो शायद फ्रूटफुल रिजल्ट्स भी देगा. The monetary policy committee was convinced that inflation would remain elevated because barring transient relief in the winter months from prices to perishables, the rate setting panel said it found itself in a bind. यानी कि monetary policy के हाथ से भी कुछ चीजें बाहर है, because it is the people and the market which is going to influence the things rather than these people. So naturally what happens, the inflation remains elevated and all the prices of perishables will be literally fluctuating in the winter. So naturally what happens, after winter we will get a clear picture. Supply side bottlenecks, because of lot of restrictions in many states and inflation are being the bigger problems towards the consumer end. This constrains monetary policy at current juncture from using the space available to act in support of growth. यानी कि जीडीपी को बढ़ाने के लिए और कई सारे चीजें मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कर सकती थी, लेकिन सबसे बड़े प्रॉब्लम क्या थी, सप्लाई साइड बॉटलनेक्स एंड आल्सो द फ्लूइड इन्फ्लेशन. Now at the same time the signs of recovery are far from being broad based एंड आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन सस्टेन्ड पॉलिसी सपोर्ट. यानी कि ये जो रिकवरी की अभी हम लोग देख रहे हैं वो सिर्फ पॉलिसी सपोर्ट की वजह से ही होगा, वो अपने आप नहीं हो रही है. So there are lot of discounts and stimulus packages offered to many sectors. So that's why because of these stimulus packages the economy is tending to be revived, and RBI will also monitor all the threats to price stability very closely so that it can have a broader macroeconomic and financial stability. तो सारे चीजें जो है आरबीआई बहुत ज्यादा क्लोजली मॉनिटर करेगी, उस वजह से अगले बाई मंथली पॉलिसी रिव्यू में अगर चाहे तो कुछ डिसीजंस वो ले सकती थी. So that's why again we have to watch out for the bi-monthly policy review which is scheduled in February first week, so that it will have lot of repercussions, and we also have the next budget in the month of February. So that will be again another thing which we can see. If the budget has some great constructive measures for the economy, then naturally what happens? It will be easier for RBI to regulate the things. So the Monetary Policy Committee has finally decided to continue with accommodative stance as long as necessary, at least during this current financial year and into the next financial year, to revive growth on a durable basis and regulate and mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, while inflation remained within the mandated target. The mandated target is 2.2% to 6% is the mandated target, while ideally 4% is the inflation which India wants to maintain. So just like I have explained now, the Monetary Policy Committee will approach a wait and watch kind of thing, so that they can get a clarity, so that even in the next financial year, if they need, they can take some more stringent measures. And RBI also announced a raft of liquidity management measures and steps to improve regulatory oversight of the financial system. लिक्विडिटी मैनेजमेंट मेजर्स काफी सारे आरबीआई के द्वारा अनाउंस किया गया था, एंड आरबीआई आल्सो हैज बीन प्रोएक्टिव इन रिजॉल्विंग द बैंक क्राइसिस. आरबीआई बहुत जल्दी ही परमिशंस भी दे रही है, लाइक लक्ष्मी विलास बैंक के क्राइसिस के, एलवीबी के क्राइसिस में जितना जल्दी आरबीआई ने सब कुछ कर दिया था, वो भी एक ऐसा इंफॉर्मेशन और एक ऐसा एश्योरेंस बाकी लोगों को देता है कि आरबीआई इज एक्टिंग वेरी क्विक इन ऑल इट्स मैटर्स. नेक्स्ट, supply side issues are fueling inflation is what said by one of the RBI's deputy governor Dr. Patra. RBI के डिप्यूटी गवर्नर ने ये कहा था कि profit maximization at the retailers end and the supply side issues are hurting the inflation situation which has breached the bank's comfort level in the past few months. यानी कि जब इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल में होती है तो आरबीआई के मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी जो है वो काफी आराम से सब कुछ चीजें कर देती है. बट व्हाट हैपेंड हियर, because of these issues the inflation is going beyond control, and that is affecting even RBI's policy. There is also a window for the cooling off in prices which is presented by the softness in vegetable prices in winters and the arrivals of खरीफ और समर क्रॉप. क्योंकि अभी सबसे ज्यादा इन्फ्लेशन किस वजह से हो रही है? फूड प्रोडक्ट्स की वजह से काफी ज्यादा इन्फ्लेशन हम लोगों को देखने को मिल रही है. सो दैट्स व्हाई इन विंटर वी एक्सपेक्ट गुड vegetables and fruits and food products to be available, and after that we are expecting the next summer crop and kharif. So after their arrival it is more likely that the inflation will be under control. At the present times the assessment is a larger part of inflation pressures are emanating out of supply side disruptions, like the level of retailer high margins charged by the retailers and some amount of indirect taxes. क्योंकि कई सारे retailers जो थे, they were not offering many discounts, while some are offering discounts. In some segments there are no discounts because those retailers were also hit by the COVID-19 crisis, and that's why they wanted to renew their profits. So that's why it is not much effective in this particular timing for more stringent measures. Also the supply side management, if it is timely and effective, then there will be a trajectory of inflation that is completely changing. अगर सप्लाई साइड इश्यूज को हम लोग सही तरह से एड्रेस कर सकते हैं तो नेचुरली क्या होगा? सप्लाई विल मीट डिमांड, सप्लाई मीट्स डिमांड. when the demand is met, naturally what happens? Prices will come down. When prices are coming down, naturally what happens? Inflation will come down and it will be under control. So the supply side management and also the profit maximization. If these two things are properly addressed, profit maximization, we cannot ensure that every retailer gives ample discounts and every retailer helps in promoting the sale, because few people will be even trying for more profits in areas where there is high demand. So if we address the supply side issues, then there is a good hope that it is very easy to control the inflation. Next article is about RBI tightening the oversight of the NBFCs and also the UCBs. सो आरबीआई ने अनाउंस किया था एक नई स्कीम की जिसका नाम है रिस्क बेस्ड इंटरनल ऑडिट नॉर्म्स. सो रिस्क बेस्ड इंटरनल ऑडिट नॉर्म्स फॉर urban cooperative banks and also the non-banking financial companies, the NBFCs. So why are these provided? To improve the governance and assurance functions at the supervised entities. क्योंकि कई सारे NBFCs और UCBs they are having some mismanagement of assets. When there is a lot of mismanagement, what happens? Naturally the people's money will be at risk. So that's why RBI is taking some new measures so that the NBFCs and the UCBs will be properly maintained. And also the appointment of statutory auditors for commercial banks, UCBs and NBFCs in order to improve the quality of financial reporting. अगर ऑडिट सही तरह से हो सकती है तो नेचुरली आरबीआई को मॉनिटर करने में काफी आसानी होगा, क्योंकि दे कैन इजीली फाइंड आउट वेयर इट इज गोइंग रॉन्ग और व्हाट इट इज गोइंग इन ए डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन. Observing that growing significance of NBFCs and their interlinkages with different parts of financial system made it imperative to enhance the sector's resilience. तो उनके resilience को improve करने में भी यहाँ पे बात कर रही है. And also there will be a transparent criteria for the declaration of dividends. Now why is it talking about dividends? Because if the profits were not properly shared and if there is more looting of the people's money in the NBFCs, that will be again another bigger problem. The systemic risk potential. So these NBFCs were built on a principle of proportionality. So they need some review, because how they are acting, how they are behaving should be constantly monitored so that there will be no issues in this sector. So there should be a स्केल बेस्ड रेगुलेटरी अप्रोच, यानी कि अगर आपका रिस्क बेस्ड एसेट्स इतना है तो आप ऐसा करना चाहिए. So depending on the risk calculation, there should be a proper scaling for the regulations, and that will be linked to the systematic risk contribution of NBFCs, which could be way forward. If the NBFCs they give more and more loans which are risky, then naturally it will be a threat to their existence. So that's why this should be controlled. RBI will also remain strongly committed to preserving the stability of financial sector. Whatever is necessary it will do. So the most important concern of RBI here is the stability of this sector, and it is ready to take whatever action is needed to be taken. RBI also constantly focused on strengthening the regulations and deepening their supervision on banks and NBFCs. This also will give priority to the quality governance, risk management and internal controls, because most of the banking frauds happen at a very low level, that is at a managerial or a regional manager level, but not in the high level. So it is always better to have proper supervision. अगर उतने नीचे लेवल पे अगर ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही है, so it is most important to supervise it on a broader context, so that it will be a lesson for all the banks and also for the employees on how to behave and also how to prioritize their lending. And this is the first line of defense in the matters relating to financial sector stability. अगर फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर में कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आएगा तो सबसे पहले ब्लेम किसको ऊपर जाएगा? आरबीआई. Everyone will be like RBI should ease the norm. So that's why it is better if RBI has a strong control and say in these issues. So with a view of deepening financial markets, rural banks would be allowed to access the liquid adjustment facility and also the marginal standing facility, and also call or notice the money market. So now RRBs will also be allowed into the money market, and they can also access the liquid adjustment facility and marginal standing facility, which are two measures or provisions that are available to all the scheduled commercial banks. So all the scheduled commercial banks now have this facility to use the marginal standing facility as well as the liquid adjustment facility. So that's why it is important for us to understand these things. Then secure digital payment is also another thing which is emphasized, because if NBFCs and UCBs use more and more digital payments, it will be easier for the RBI and other financial entities to regulate it and also to supervise, like from where the funds are going to whom, and their CIBIL scores and other things can also be easily monitored, and the risk evaluation can be easily done by the RBI. So to significantly improve the ecosystem of digital payment channels with robust security and convenience for users, RBI has proposed to issue digital payment security control for all the regulated entities. तो ये भी एक सबसे बड़ी बात है कि डिजिटल पेमेंट सिक्योरिटी कंट्रोल अगर सब लोगों के पास होंगे तो नेचुरली इट इज वेरी इजी फॉर द मॉनिटरिंग and also for the safety and security of the money. These directions will contain requirements of robust governance, implementation and monitoring of certain minimum standards on common security control, and channels like internet and mobile banking along with card payments. So all these things will also be considered in this particular RBI tightening measures. So that's why it will be even more beneficiary for the users and also the economy. And justifying RBI's action on HDFC Bank, already हम लोग पिछले क्लास में जान चुके हैं कि RBI has ordered HDFC Bank not to issue new credit cards because there were some issues that are to be addressed in their IT systems so that public confidence is maintained. The report of the internal working group IWG जिसने प्राइवेट कंपनीज को बैंक्स एस्टेब्लिश करने के लिए परमिशन देने को कहा था is now on public domain on RBI panel's recommendation that corporates may be allowed to open banks. इस पॉइंट को काफी ज्यादा क्रिटिसिज्म मिल रही थी सब बॉक्स ऑफ इंडियन सोसाइटी से. So that's why they'll examine the whole matter and take a considered decision on how it stands and what should be done about it in further. RBI गवर्नर ने ये भी इंडिकेट किया था कि जो पंजाब एंड महाराष्ट्र की कोऑपरेटिव बैंक में हो रही है that is headed for an early resolution which is based on positive response from the prospective investors. यानी कि जितने भी लोग अभी थे इस स्टेक होल्डर्स थे इस पंजाब एंड महाराष्ट्र कोऑपरेटिव बैंक में उनको एक अर्ली रिजोल्यूशन मिलना था क्योंकि इन्वेस्टर्स आर रेडी टू इन्वेस्ट सम मोर एंड इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड दैट वेरी सून वी आर गेटिंग ए पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट रिगार्डिंग द सेम. So that's it for today, guys. There is a lot of economy related articles, so I want you to read the chapter of inflation so that it will be easier for you to understand this. That's all for the day, guys. See you in tomorrow's class, and thank you.